By now I'm sure you've gone through all three aspects of the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem and the details. There's giving one's life, and that included rather giving up one's life than breaking one of the three. Avodah Zarah, Gil Arayah, Shvichas Damim. The second one was giving up one's life not to break anything. If it's Befarhesia, if it's in front of Asarim Yisrael, with the condition that the reason why the person was trying to get the Jew to break the Aveira was Lahavir al Das. It wasn't something personal, it was ideological. And the third, which is B'Shas Hashmad, where they're even B'tzina, even if there's nobody around, but B'Shas Hashmad, you give your life up for anything, the smallest thing. The other part of Kiddush Hashem versus Chilul Hashem is behavior. Behavior that, although technically speaking may not be prohibited, but if it's giving off a bad message, it's inappropriate for the person doing this, one who represents Torah. Whether it's the way he does business, the way he deals with others, if it's in a way that is inappropriate, that's a Chilul Hashem. On the contrary, if his behavior gives off the message that, wow, this is what it means. This is what it means to be a Jew, a Maimin, a Talmid Chacham. That's Kiddush Hashem. And then the third, someone does an Aveira, not for any gain, just for the sake of doing an Aveira, going against the will of Hashem, that's Chilul Hashem. And if somebody, when challenged, stands up to his Yetzer Hara, doesn't succumb, he's being Mekadesh Shem Shamayim. And these are the three aspects of Kiddush Hashem. When we start going through the Rambam, in terms of what is included in what, it gets extremely confusing. So much so that the Meforshim argue. The Rambam in Halacha Daled, Kol mi shenemer bo yavo v'al yehorig. This is what the Rambam, he began with this at the beginning of the parak, and he repeats it. V'nerag v'lo over hazeh erezim ischai b'nafsho. The Rambam wants to make it very clear. When you are not required to give your life, don't do it. Don't do it. Okay, next. V'chol mi shenemer bo yehorig v'al yavor v'nerag v'lo over. Someone that was required to give his life and did give up his life. Hareze Kiddush es Hashem. So he was Mekadesh Hashem. V'im hoya ba'asorim Yisrael hareze Kiddush es Hashem barabim. If there were 10 Jews there, then he was Mekadesh es Hashem barabim. So the Rambam seems to hold that there are two different things here. There's Kiddush Hashem and Kiddush Hashem barabim. Kedoniel, Hanani, Mishal, Vazaria, Rabbi Akiva v'Chaverov. Ve'eluhem arugei malchus shein mal al malosam. These are the arugei malchus that there's no one greater than them. V'aleim nemer ki olecha horagnu kol hayom nechshavnu katzon tivcha. Aleim nemar isfuli chasidai, korsei brisi alei zovach. All these wonderful psukim were said about them. V'chol mi shenemer bo yeharg val yavor v'ovar v'loi nerag, harei ze mechal es Hashem. Someone that was supposed to give his life, did the Aver instead, didn't give up his life? He was mechal es Hashem. V'im hoya ba'asorim Yisrael, harei ze chilul es Hashem barabim. So it was a chilul Hashem barabim. Ubitel mitzvahs asei, she Kiddush Hashem. It was mevatel the mitzvah asei of Kiddush Hashem. V'ovral mitzvahs los asei, she chilul Hashem. And then the Rambam says, even though he was over, he doesn't get punished for it in this world because it was bonus. It wasn't just out of his own accord that he decided to go and do one of these Averas. He was forced to. He should have risen to the occasion and given up his life. He didn't. The Rambam mentioned here two levels. Be Mekadosh Hashem, be Mekadosh Hashem barabim. Be Mechal Hashem, be Mechal Hashem barabim. What is the pasuk talking about? At which point has he broken the asay of Vinigdashti? At which point has he gone against the los asay of los chalalu? Is it only in public or even in private? The Rambam is calling it all Kiddush Hashem. Is it actually included in this Isser or not? So again, the words of the Rambam. Im hoya basar me Yisrael harei zechilas Hashem barabim ubitel mitzvahs asay she Kiddush Hashem v'over mitzvahs los asay she chilul Hashem, which the Rambam did not mention biyochid, which means even avodah zarah gil arayos and shvichas damim one has to give his life for. Or in the case of Shas Hashmad, where he has to give his life up, even B'tzina. Over here, the Rambam says that the only time that you're actually Makai in the mitzvah of Inigdashti is in front of Ten Yisrael, and you're over the Lo Saseh, if that happened, in front of Asar Yisrael. So where do we get the rest from? Avodah zarah gil arayos and shvichas damim. That the Gemara had psukim for. Psukim, svaras. That we saw. Avodah zarah b'chol nafshecha. Ritzicha. The svara, who says his blood is redder than, who says your blood is redder than his. And then arayos, the pasuk said, kasher yoko mishareo varogo nofesh, with the Torah compared arayos to Ritzicha, so we learned out of there also. Those three were Yohareg Val Yavar. What is the source to Shas Hashmad? What is the source to Shas Hashmad? See, if you're talking about Parhesia, if we're talking about doing in front of 10, we have to give your life for everything if it is for the sake of Lahaviro Aldato. That we understand. It says, V'nigdashi b'sol b'nei Yisrael v'lo sechalalu. But if it's Shas Hashmad, where do we learn that out of? The Gemara brought no psukim for it. The assumption is that it goes into Vinigdashti and Lo Sechalalu. The Rambam here is saying that Vinigdashti and Lo Sechalalu are only in front of Asar Yisrael. Furthermore, the Rambam says that it's a Kiddush Hashem and a Chilul Hashem, even not in front of Asar Yisrael. How is it? The source to the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem is V'nigdashti b'sol b'nei Yisrael. V'nigdashti b'sol b'nei Yisrael is only in front of Asar Yisrael. Yet, if it's not in front of Asar Yisrael, you've got to give your life in the case of Shas Hashmad. But since it wasn't b'for Hesia, you're not Mekayim the mitzvah, so where did it say that you have to give your life? What is the source to it? So Rambam is puzzling. The Lechem Mishnah. He seems to differentiate between Chilul Hashem and Kiddush Hashem. Mira midiver Rabbeinu, the bepoches me'asoro leke elolav de lo sechalalu. In the lav of lo sechalalu, it just says lo sechalalu Hashem kachi. Aval ba'asora ikar tarte, v'nigdashti and lo sechalol. The pasuk of v'nigdashti, the mitzvah say that it says b'soch b'nei Yisrael. The lav, it doesn't say b'soch b'nei Yisrael. So the Lechem Mishnah wants to say that the Rambam holds that the asay is only barabim, the lav is not barabim. That would make things very good. Then we learn that you have to give your life, even not ba'asora, if it's shas hashmad, from below sechalalu, but you're not makayim v'nigdashi. The problem is the words of the Rambam were not like that. The Rambam mentions, V'im hoya basor miYisrael harei zechilul es Hashem barabim ubitul mitzvah kiddush Hashem v'ovra mitzvah lo saseh sheichilul Hashem. The Rambam makes it sound like they're both the same. Now, if you look at Sefer HaMitzvahs, things are quite mefurish. Let's start with the mitzvahs aseh. It's very important to see the way the Rambam defines the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem here. Mitzvah tes. Hatzivui shenitztavinu al Kiddush Hashem. The mitzvah is Kiddush Hashem. V'hu amro v'nikdashti b'sol b'nei Yisrael. V'inyan mitzvah zo. What is this mitzvah? Sha'anu mitzuvim lefarsein dos emes zo barabim. We are commanded to publicize, to go announce it in public. This religion. We're supposed to go and bring Judaism to the masses. We should be afraid of nothing. Even if you're dealing with someone powerful that challenges us and tells us that we've got to deny, we will not listen. We will give up our lives. We won't even allow him to think that perhaps we denied the truth of Hashem and Judaism. Can't even mislead him. To go and mislead him, make him think that we believe. For example, someone bowing down to an idol when in his mind he thinks this idol is a piece of stone, it's nothing. Why am I bowing? To get this guy off my back. I don't believe in it for 1 second. Won't do that either. V'zohi mitzvahs kiddush Hashem shenitztava bo kol b'nei Yisrael. Kolomar, shenimsor es atzmeinu lo mus biyat ha'oritz alavoso yis'ale v'emuna biyichudo, an avos Hashem and emuna biyichudo. Sounds a little familiar. On Monday we spoke about the real underlying mitzvah that this is all coming from is the mitzvah of Avos Hashem b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol miyodecha. The Rambam is bringing the pasuk of Avos Hashem and Yichudo, which is Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol miyodecha. Kamo shasu Chananya Mishal v'Azariah b'imei Nebuchadnezzar harosha. K'shirchriach l'shtach vos l'tzelem. Right, where Nebuchadnezzar required everyone to bow down to his idol there. It was this big form, this big monument, whatever you want to call it, and everyone had to bow down to it. They refused. Everyone did out of fear, including the Jews. There was nobody being Mekadesh Shem Shemayim. And it was a terrible shame that this mitzvah disappeared. No one fulfilled it. Everyone was fearful. And then what happened? Then came Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. This mitzvah only applies in this setting, the one that there was in the days of Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. Shabo pochadu kol boy olam. Everyone feared Nebuchadnezzar. Vayachova lefarsem yuchudo. There was this chov, this chiyuv, a responsibility to go and publicize the fact that Hashem is one and there's nothing else. There's no one else to worship. Ulahachriz Allah ba'osa eis. Uchvar evtiach Hashem, then he brings the pasuk from Yeshaya. Vikdishu es kdosh Yaakov es Elokei Yisrael yaritzu. So the Rambam makes it very clear. What is the essence of the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem? Pirsum. The essence of the mitzvah of V'nigdashti b'sod b'nei Yisrael, the way the Rambam puts it, is to be mefarsem the Shem Hashem. Avraham Avinu's vayikra b'Shem Hashem in a pagan world. To stand up for Hashem and his values in public. The mitzvahs lo saseh. Hazhora shuz harnu al chilul Hashem, v'hu hefech kiddush Hashem, shanu mitzuvim ba. So first, the Rambam already gives something away by telling us that this is the flip side of the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem, which means that it would seem like the Rambam is saying the basic definition is the same, just as the positive and this is the negative. And if the positive commandment, if the mitzvah aseh is to be mefarsem shemo barabim, then the chilul Hashem is chilul Hashem barabim, in public. Shekodam beiruba mitzvah aseh hadishiyis. That was the 9th mitzvah aseh we just read. Vu amro yisalav lo schalu Hashem kodshi. Here, the Rambam gives us the halachas of giving your life. Ovom zeh nechlach l'shlosha chalakim shnayim ala klal ve'echad hayechidim sheba'am. The Rishon. Mi shedarshu meno lavar alachas min ha-mitzvahs b'shas hashmad im ha'anes miskaven lavar b'mitzvahs kalas b'mitzvahs chamuras mi shedarshu meno lavar lavar l'zor gil arayis ha'shvichas damim v'afilu shelo b'shas hashmad harei zachayev limsor es nafsho v'yorg v'lo yavor kamo shebiyar mitzvah aseh hadishiyas v'im ovar v'lo nerag harei zechilil es Hashem v'over alav zeh. Again, im ovar v'lo neherag harei zechilil es Hashem v'over alav zeh. The Rambam mentioned someone who in private, was not able to stand up to someone who is forcing him to do one of the big three, even in private. And the Rambam said, Im over v'lo nerag, harei zechilil es Hashem. V'over alav zeh. He was over on this lav. V'im hoya zeh barabim kolomer b'mamad asorim Yisrael, harei zechilil es Hashem barabim. V'over al omro yisalav v'lo sechalu Hashem kodshi. These words of the Rambam. One more time. First the Rambam says, Im over v'lo nerag, and this is even in private. Harei zechilil es Hashem v'over alav zeh. He was machal Hashem Shemaim and broke this lav. V'im hoya zeh barabim kolomer b'mamad asar miyisrael harei zechilil es Hashem barabim. V'over al omro yis'al levelo sechalu Hashem kodshi v'avono chomer mo'od. The first one was over on lav zeh, and the second one was over on omro yis'al levelo sechalu Hashem kodshi. What is lav zeh? The lav of lo sechalu. So the first one was over on lav zeh, and that was biyochid. The second one, where it was barabim, was over on lo sechalu Hashem kodshi. How does that work? We're talking about the same lav. Is it only barabim, or is it even biyachid? And I mentioned on Monday, the Rambam says very clearly that the Chi of Mesiris Nefesh for Avodah Zarah, Gil Arayis and Shvichas Damim is under the heading of Kiddush Hashem. What does the Rambam mean? I believe we have no choice but say that the Rambam learns that there's the love of Chilul Hashem and a mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem. There's also the words of the Pasuk where it says, V'nikdashti b'soch b'nei Yisrael. What do we learn from there? We learn from V'nikdashti b'soch b'nei Yisrael that when you're dealing with B'far Hesya, when it's in public, you have to give your life. Even if it's not one of the big three. What is the mitzvah, though? What is the mitzvah? The mitzvah is only B'soch b'nei Yisrael, or it's everywhere? Now, it would sound like the Rambam was saying that the mitzvah's aseh is only B'soch b'nei Yisrael because he said the mitzvah is to be mefarsein to make it public. When it comes to the lav, the Rambam is including both, but he's saying that there are two levels. One is you're over on lo sechalu, and one is you're over on ba'omro, the way the pasuk said it. It sounds like there are two levels here, but it would sound like the aseh is only barabim, and the lo saseh has two levels. That's what it would sound like. But it's funny, the Rambam began the whole parak by telling us that there's a mitzvah, kol, his lashon there. Kol beis Yisrael is chayiv in the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem, shenemer v'nikdashi b'soch b'nei Yisrael, and he immediately runs into the halachas of what you give your life for, including the big three. So what is the Rambam holding? In terms of what's included in Kiddush and Chilul Hashem, aside from the fact that b'shas hashmad, the halach is that one has to give his life, the Rambam also mentions that halacha that if you stand up to your Yetzer Hara and there's no one around, in the privacy of your own home, you're Mekadesh Shem Shammai. You're Mekayim Kiddush Hashem. So according to the Rambam, it's very, very clear. The concept of Kiddush Hashem, the concept of Kiddush Hashem is not limited to B'soch b'nei Yisrael. In fact, the way to read the pasuk according to the Rambam is like this. V'nikdashti. There's something called Kiddush Hashem. There's a special mitzvah saseh to do that. V'nikdashti b'soch b'nei Yisrael. In other words, it was called Kiddush Hashem before you had 10 people there. Now that you do, there's this added aspect of V'nikdashti b'soch b'nei Yisrael, which means that the Rambam conceptually sees Kiddush Hashem as something that is independent of who is around. The Rambam sees the word Kiddush Hashem, when we talk about Kiddush Hashem, they include anytime a Jew chooses Hashem over his own desires, certainly over his own life. Very, very much in line with B'chol Nafshecha, that the Avos Hashem, a person who is choosing Hashem, he sees Hashem, his commandments, the relationship with him, love for Hashem as being more important than anything he does. That is the union of Kiddush Hashem. That does not require Asara Yisrael. The pasuk, however, says V'nikdashti. V'nikdashti, there's an union of doing this Kiddush Hashem thing, B'soch b'nei Yisrael. So there in the mitzvahs I say, the Rambam said, what does that mean? That means being mefarsim the das. Now, in the midst of lo sechalu Hashem kadshi, they're a pair, they go together. So that the Rambam is saying the words of this mitzvah, literally, if you're going together with the other pasuk, will also have to be barabim. And therefore, you have only broken v'lo sechalu Hashem Kodshi, the actual lav, when it's in front of Asarim Yisrael. However, it just says v'lo sechalu Hashem Kodshi. The pasuk is outlawing Chilul Hashem. Notice the Rambam is holding the concept of Kiddush Hashem does not need Rabbim at all. The concept of Kiddush being Makadesh Shem Shamayim means choosing Hashem. The pasuk, however, talks of Besoch B'nai Yisrael. What does Besoch B'nai Yisrael mean? That teaches us that there's a greater level of Kiddush Hashem when it's Barabim. And the same goes for the Lo Sechalu. And therefore, even the mitzvahs that it says V'chai B'hem on, when it's Besoch B'nai Yisrael, we just rose a level, and they're not included. Meaning, they do not have a V'chai B'hem. The Rambam is seeing the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem, the idea of Kiddush Hashem, the concept of Kiddush Hashem that we get out of the pasuk, does not need Asarim Yisrael. The concept of Kiddush Hashem is choosing Hashem over your desires, over your life. That's what the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem is. The literal pasuk says Besoch B'nai Yisrael. So that to be Makayim, the literal meaning of the pasuk, you've got to be Mefarsim his name Barabim. But you're Makadesh Shem Shemayim even B'yachid, even if there's nobody around. But literally to be Makayim the pasuk. Oh, it's the concept of Kiddush Hashem we get out of this parsha. The pasuk literally is Besoch B'nai Yisrael. And why was it Besoch B'nai Yisrael? To teach us that Besoch B'nai Yisrael, you have a greater responsibility, so there's no heter of V'chai B'hem. With regard to Lo Sechalu, says the Rambam a similar thing. Except here, the pasuk didn't say Besoch B'nai Yisrael, but it's next to V'nigdashti. They go together. Lo Sechalu Hashem Kodshi V'nigdashti Besoch B'nai Yisrael. So the Rambam learns that there are two levels. There's Chil Hashem and there's Chil Hashem Barabim. You breaking Lo Sechalu Hashem Kodshi with a Chil Hashem B'yachid. And if it's Barabim, it's Omro Yizbarach. You're also breaking the literal pshat in the pasuk, which follows from V'nigdashti Besoch B'nai Yisrael. Now it's according to the Rambam. Lo Sechalu Hashem Kodshi doesn't say Asarim Yisrael. However, when you read it in the context of the parsha, it means a continuation of what it said in, not a continuation, but as an introduction to V'nigdashti Besoch B'nai Yisrael, which is only in front of Asarim Yisrael. So you can be breaking the lav, just the words of it, or you can be breaking the lav within the context. And the Rambam learns that they're both included. Just they're different levels. Barabim, it's much more severe. Now, the Rambam obviously got this because the Gemara told us that it was Chil Hashem even B'yachid. It means that according to the Rambam, the concept of Kiddush Hashem is choosing Hashem over your desires. That is the concept of Kiddush Hashem. It is even B'yachid. B'yachid mamish, not only not Asarim Yisrael, that no one else knows. You were tempted, you controlled yourself because you feel like you want to be closer to Hashem. That means more to you than whatever it was this Avera offered. You were just Mekadei Shem Shamayim. The mitzvah of V'nigdashti is Besoch B'nai Yisrael. What's with Lo Sechalu? It doesn't say Besoch B'nai Yisrael there. So you can really be breaking literally Lo Sechalu Hashem Kodshi without Asarim Yisrael. However, with Asarim Yisrael, you're breaking this lav on the level where it is together with V'nigdashti in the pasuk, which is a higher level of Lo Sechalu. Ba'omro Yizbarach, a higher level of it. That means, according to the Rambam, you can have the same halacha, the same concept included in a pasuk, but if you take it a step further, then it's a higher level, because this is Omro Yizbarach. This is the pasuk within its context. This is how the Rambam seems to learn it. That means, are you over the lav of Lo Sechalu B'yachid? Yes. Yes. But you're really over it if it's Barabim. Because that's the way the pasuk introduces it to V'nigdashti. And the pasuk of V'nigdashti says B'soch B'nei Yisrael. So even though the concept of Kiddush Hashem is even b'yachid, and once we learn out that there's no v'chai b'hem in the big three, and you go choose, then you have to give your life. And when you choose keeping the mitzvah over your life, of course you are Makadosh Shem Shamayim. However, the pasuk says V'nigdashi B'soch B'nei Yisrael. So you were only Makayim it literally when it's Barabim. But Lo Sechalu was a little more lenient, meaning Lo Sechalu you can be over the lav, not lenient, it's easier to be over the lav, just not on the same level. V'nigdashti, where it's not B'soch B'nei Yisrael, you weren't over V'nigdashti. V'lo Sechalu you are, but not on the level of Omro Yisbarach, the meaning of the pasuk, because the two go together. The yesod of the Rambam, therefore, is that really the concept of Kiddush Hashem does not need a rabbi. It does not need anybody else. Kiddush Hashem is even b'yachid. Rashi seems to learn otherwise. Now, this concept that if a person controls himself and doesn't do an avera because he chooses Hashem, that he's Makadosh Shem Shamayim, the words themselves we find in the Gemara in Sota talks about Yosef, when he withstood temptation, he was Makadosh Shem Shamayim b'yachid. Furthermore, the term Chil Hashem we find all over Shas, B'makom sheyesh Chil Hashem in Cholken Kavod L'Rav, that even in place of Kavod Abrius, even in place of human dignity, you don't break an Aveira. It's all over Shas, and it's called Chilul Hashem. That Chazal used the Lashon of Chilul Hashem for a Maisa Aveira, that we find all over the place. The question is that the same Chilul Hashem that we're talking about in this sugya? Is it or is it not? So I believe Rashi learns that it doesn't. It's a few Ramazim. But first of all, we saw on Monday there was a machlokes Rabbi Yishmael with Rabbi Lezer. If the Gimel Chamur is if Avodah Zarah, he's talking if Avodah Zarah b'yachid is Yehorig Val Yaver. Rabbi Yishmael does not have the drasha of B'chol Nafshecha to say that for Avodah Zarah you have to give your life. And by the way, based on the way we approached the whole idea of V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha b'chol levav v'chol nafshecha v'chol yadecha, meaning that you should be prepared to give your life for every mitzvah, just there's a v'chai b'hem. Rabbi Yishmael learns that V'ahavta just says that, and it doesn't tell me that Avodah Zarah was excluded from v'chai b'hem. So he holds that there's no special halacha for Avodah Zarah. There's still a v'chai b'hem there. However, he is moda that prefer Hesia or v'shas hashmad, one does have to give his life. Why? Because of the pasuk of V'nigdashti B'soch B'nei Yisrael. Rashi in Avodah Zarah, where the machlokas appears, well, actually, just Rabbi Yishmael appears. Rashi says there, because V'nigdashti is b'fer Hesia. The Gemara then mentions b'shas hashmad. It mentions shas hashmad, shas gzeira. Says Rashi, parhesia. What does that mean? Rashi holds that b'shas hashmad, it's only if it's b'fer Hesia. I don't think so. And the Gemara said beferish that Shas Hashmad is even mitzina. We don't know that Rabbi Yishmael argues with that. The only machlokas is with regard to Avodah Zarah. I believe what Rashi's saying is that b'Shas Hashmad we call it parhesia. And I believe you can say the same thing in the Rambam as well. Not sure, but could be. What is that? How did the Rambam define the concept of parhesia? It's a matter of proving a point. Meaning there's someone out there who's trying to outlaw kiyum mitzvahs. Shas hashmad, you stand up against him, even if it's betzin. It's called parhesia. Because what's going on? This man is going with a malchus, and they said you cannot do this mitzvah anywhere. Everyone's got to do an aver in their own homes. The issue at hand is, are Jews being Makayim mitzvahs? Every Jew is not an isolated yochid. The issue is an issue of parhesia. The issue is Klal Yisrael keeping mitzvahs or not? Every individual is part of that parhesia. Every individual is part of that Sibur of Klal Yisrael. Rashi holds that we can learn out of Igdashti B'Sol B'nai Yisrael that B'Shas Hashmad, even B'Yachid, we call it parhesia. And that's why you have to give your life. And by the way, the reason I want to say the Rambam holds of it is because otherwise, what's the source? Where did the Gemara learn that B'Shas Hashmad, even B'Yachid, you have to give up your life? Where the Gemara brought no source. I believe the Rambam and Rashi. Rashi who wins at it by calling it parhesia. I believe that Rashi and the Rambam both learning the same thing. That it's considered parhesia because they're trying to stop it in all of Klal Yisrael, and Klal Yisrael is made of every individual in his home. This therefore is called parhesia. B'Shas Hashmad, it's parhesia. Okay. I want to go a little further. The Gemara says, Hey Chidami Chilul Hashem, what is Chilul Hashem? What is Chilul Hashem? Gives us a whole bunch of cases, the Gemara in Yuma, a whole bunch of cases of what's considered Chilul Hashem. So first, Rashi defines Chilul Hashem. Chotei umachti acherim. Rashi says Chilul Hashem is defined as sinning and causing others to sin. So the Gemara gives a case of an Amora that says, if I buy something and don't pay for it immediately, that's a Chilul Hashem. So how do we understand such a Chilul Hashem? That people are going to say, look, a Talmud Chacham, and he lacks integrity. It's not what Rashi says. Ukshani ma'acher lefroa, when I delay payment, hu omer shani gazlin, he thinks that I steal, and I'm an Amora. V'lomad mimenu lias mezalzel begezel. So he says, well, if I'm a Roim steal, I can steal too. You hear this? The problem is not because you're doing bad PR for Talmidei Chachamim or for Torah and mitzvahs. The problem is people are going to learn from you. They'll learn to steal. If a Talmud Chacham conducts himself in a way that's inappropriate, others are going to learn from him. That's the Chilul Hashem. So Rashi learns that the Iker is the Machti. Now later where it says, Ein Maso Matan, that his Maso Matan in Abrius is not good. So the Brias say, Oy Ploni Shalom Torah, Oy Rabbo, who taught him Torah. Ploni Shalom Torah, look how Makul Kolim, look how off his behavior is. Rashi's learning not because they're saying bad things, but they're going to learn from that. This is what Torah teaches you. Either they're going to stop learning themselves, which means that you're a Machtias Arabim, or they're going to say, it's not so bad to be such a terrible person. One or the other. And Kiddush Hashem is the opposite. People are going to say, oh, I want to learn, I want to be like that. The idea, according to Rashi, is you're causing others either to keep or not keep. Now, according to Rashi, the pashtus would be to do an aver when no one's looking, or to be mekayim a mitzvah when no one's looking, or to stand up to your Yetzer Hara when no one's looking. That's not included in this sugi of Kiddush Hashem b'chlal. The Gemara calls it Kiddush Hashem, Chilul Hashem. It just means doing averis. That's not what we're talking about. That's not included in the same parsha. According to Rashi, the Iker is others. And that's how Rashi learned V'nigdashti b'soch b'nei Yisrael. And according to Rashi, the pashtus would be that for avodah zarah, arayos and shvichas damim, if someone does not do them and gives his life, according to Rashi, I don't know if you're Mekayim V'nigdashti. According to Rashi, it is the Chomer Avera. It's because these Averas are very severe. The pasuk of V'nigdashti is B'soch B'nei Yisrael only. Kiddush Hashem is affecting others, and the mitzvah of V'nigdashti is B'asarim Yisrael. There's one other small thing. The Gemara there on Amid Beis says, Mefarsum esachanefim ipnei chilul Hashem. What does this mean? Rashi learns that the chanefim are hypocrites, meaning people that in public are holy and in private are degenerates. Says Rashi, you're supposed to go and let everyone know the truth about them. Why? Interesting thing Rashi says. Rashi says because they're going to get punished. And everyone's going to think that they're a tzaddik. And everyone's going to ask, why is the tzaddik getting punished? So mipnei Kiddush Hashem, in order for people not to say that Hashem is unjust, you've got to be mefarsim that this person is a tzavua, that this person is not what he portrays himself as. The Rambam, the way the Mefarshim learn it, understands otherwise. The Rambam in the halacha of Malbim Pnei Chaveru Baravim, in Hilchos Deis, to go and embarrass someone publicly, gives an exception. He says that if someone does an Aveira, you've given him tochacha, and he won't stop, you are allowed to publicize it in order to stop him. Says the Migdal Oz. What is the source to this Rambam? Mefarsimim es hachanefim ipnei chilul Hashem. Chanefim, according to the Rambam, are people who do Aveiris. And you are mefarsim that they chilul Hashem because he's doing Aveiris, that's a chilul Hashem. You got to stop him from doing Aveiris because the Rambam holds that Aveiris are chilul Hashem. Because according to the Rambam, we're publicizing it not because of the effect on others. We're publicizing to get him to stop doing the Aveira. Because doing Aveira is a chilul Hashem. There's an essential difference between Rambam and Rashi. And this really is our whole discussion has really been based on the Rambam, and Rashi sees the opposite. The Rambam learns the concept of Kiddush Hashem is choosing Hashem over your body, choosing Hashem over physical pleasure, choosing Hashem over money, everything included in V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha b'chol levav v'chol nafshecha miyadecha. Choosing Hashem is Kiddush Hashem. There's another level, which is V'nigdashti b'soch b'nei Yisrael, which is Kiddush Hashem barabim, to teach this to humanity. That's another level of Kiddush Hashem. But the concept of Kiddush Hashem has nothing to do with who's around. Rashi Shita is that Kiddush Hashem, Chilul Hashem, is a matter of affecting others. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's a matter of affecting others. All the different cases. Just so happens, so according to Rashi, if a person gives his life not to break one of the big three, that's not included in Kiddush Hashem. It's not included in Kiddush Hashem. That's simply the severity of these Averas doesn't allow you to do them. Better dead than to do these Averas. What is Kiddush Hashem? The message you're giving off to others. So that includes doing things in public that will get others to follow when these are not good things, or getting people to stop learning, or getting people, or you have to prevent people from thinking Hashem is unjust. That's the concept of Kiddush Hashem, according to Rashi. There are different levels. There's a Kiddush Hashem barabim, meaning in front of Asar Mi Yisrael, which is even greater, and therefore has greater halachas. The pashtus, wherever something doesn't appear in Shulchan Aruch, you have a sugya, a machlokis, and this is not a halacha that appears somewhere in Shulchan Aruch. The concept of Chilul Hashem, where you have to give your life, it's in Yeridea Kufnan Zayin. The guidelines, there's no machlokas on. The halachas, like Reb Lezer, everyone agrees you've got to give your life for the big three, even in private. B'shas hashmad, even in private. In public, for any avera, the halachas are clear. what's included in Kiddush Hashem and Chilul Hashem, the Shulchan Aruch doesn't discuss it. But Derech Klal, we follow the Rambam. We follow the Rambam. Rabbi Yaakov Weinberg Zechariah Levracha used to say, the most important accomplishment of the Beis Yosef in putting together the Shulchan Aruch is to teach us when the halach is not like the Rambam. The Stom is like the Rambam, and the Shulchan Aruch tells us when not. Which means that the first thing we've got to recognize is going back to what I spoke about on Monday. And it's clear from the Rambam, the concept of Chilul Hashem needs no Rabbim. The concept of Chilul Hashem and the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem is to feel your love for Hashem is far more important to you than absolutely anything else. You're ready to give your life for anything. And I pointed out then from the way the Rambam begins, this is your attitude in every mitzvah. You're ready to give your life for every single mitzvah. But the Torah says, V'chai b'hem. So you have to control yourself. You're ready to give your life for it, but you don't. And you're Mekayim Kiddush Hashem according to the Rambam also, because you fulfill the will of Hashem and V'chai b'hem. Then, if it's one of the big three, there's no V'chai b'hem. You got to give your life for it, and when you do, you're Mekayim Kiddush Hashem. From V'nigdashi B'soch B'nei Yisrael, and that was today's edition. From V'nigdashi B'soch B'nei Yisrael, we learn in the Rambam that there's another level, which is B'soch B'nei Yisrael. And that level is either B'farhesia or Shas Hashmad, which is also a form of Parhesia, because it's all of Klal Yisrael. Today is Reb Noach Zichron Levracha's yahrzeit. You read the Rambam about Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, and you can't help but think about what the world was like. It's a little better today, maybe a little worse in certain ways. The majority of Klal Yisrael did not know there was a creator. The majority of Klal Yisrael was non-observant. A third of the nation was annihilated by the Nazis. Far more than that, fell to assimilation. The Shem Hashem, Yichudo, Avoso, far from everybody. Even Jews who did believe. They came from Europe, they got to America. It was a matter of working on Shabbos, because that's the way you're going to make a living. There went Shabbos. There went Shabbos. Where was everybody? Mamish, the Rambam's description of what happened in the days of Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. Nobody did a thing. Nobody did a thing. Everyone was busy with themselves. Obviously, the Gedolei Yisrael of the time decided that we have to rebuild the yeshivas because there's no future to the Jewish nation without the yeshivas. And they did that. And the kids of parents that were still frum had an opportunity to study in yeshiva. And they built the yeshivas, and they grew, and they built kololim. And the Olam HaTorah definitely saved Klal Yisrael from totally disappearing. But for the majority of the nation, there was still nothing doing. One person stood up. One person stood up. He read this Rambam. He read the Mitzvahs Asay Tes. And this is the way he read every Rambam, by the way. The story was famous. Noach himself used to tell it. He pushed himself to learn late at night, but he couldn't get up in the morning. The way he told it to me, he was in Eretz Yisrael at the time. Mashgiach Reb David came to him every day with some other reason why he should get up for davening and how important tefillah was. And he says, listen, I'm learning and I just can't get up early in the morning. One day, Reb Noach shows up for davening. Mashgiach went over to him and said, what happened? What happened? He said, I read the Rambam. The Rambam says that Divrei Torah are only miskayim in somebody who is meimis atzmo aleha, someone who kills himself for Torah. So I asked myself, you sleep 8 hours a night? That's called killing yourself for Torah? From that day on, not only did he make shachris, Reb Noach killed himself for Torah. When I came to the mir, they were still talking about him. He literally learned day and night. He lived on no dose. He lived on caffeine tablets. Learned day and night. He had this little ledger where he would write down how many minutes during the day he didn't learn. Actually kept that. Reb Chaim Uri Frein, who was his chavrusa at one point and taught here for many years, said he remembered that little book. There weren't many minutes that he had entered there. Reb Noach took every word of Chazal, be it a Mishnah, Gemara, be it a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, be it a Gemara in Avodah Zarah. Everything is for us. This is the Torah speaking to us. He took every Rambam seriously. And he looked around, where is everybody? His description, they had all given up. They were trying to save whoever was still from, but they had given up. They wrote off the majority of Klal Yisrael. He could not stand this. This was not something he could stand. That was Reb Noach. So he started, in his own creative way, these clandestine cells. People didn't know of one another. They were going to form an underground and change the face of Klal Yisrael before the Jews knew what was happening. He opened the yeshiva. There were different eras with his different yeshivas. He had a yeshiva where the government was going to go and fund it, and then came the 6-Day War. That was gone. He had a yeshiva in Bnei Brak. Finally, he opened Eish Torah, and this was going to be his. He was going to create what he wanted to be 10 men. And the 10 men were going to change the face of Jewry. Reb Noach, through himself, his Talmidim, and everybody he reached, was Makarev, who knows how many. Wherever you go, you run into somebody that was touched by it. You run into families where this one, that one, grandchildren already. Grandchildren of people that Reb Noach was Makarev. When he was Nifter, he considered himself a failure. Most Jews still don't know they were created. Most Jews still don't know Hashem loves them. We're still here. We're still here. Reb Noach's legacy is not be Makar of a couple of Jews. Reb Noach's legacy is not give yourself a pat on the back. Every time you can have an effect on someone else. Rav Noach left us with one responsibility. The Rambam, mitzvahs aseh tes. We've got to go and change the face of Jewry. Make it clear to everybody. We are Jews. Hashem created and runs the world. He made this place for us. He has taught us. He has taught us that there's nothing more pleasurable than a relationship with Him. And He's taught us how that happens. Every Jew's got to know this. That's his mission. So long as we're sitting in his yeshiva, the mission is this and nothing less. We've got to know that. We've got to know that. Kiruv has gotten more in style. It's not Reb Noach's kiruv. The kiruv that's in style is individuals. It's so nice when somebody becomes from. It's so heartwarming. That's not what Reb Noach had in mind. There's no greater chil Hashem than the fact that the Jewish nation doesn't know what it's all about. Anything short of turning that around, anything short of changing the face of Jewry in its entirety is missing the point. We've got to know this. We can't forget. It's so easy to forget. The same way the world gave up. People were self-involved, building themselves, their families. We are all capable of doing the same. Rav Noach left us his legacy and a responsibility. We've got to change the face of Jewry. May his chus bring us the siyata d'shmaya to make that happen. But we've got to be prepared to do all the work. That's it. We've got to go to war. We've got to save Klal Yisrael. There is no alternative. Rav Noach was very impatient. He said time was running out. Soon we won't know who's Jewish. We're almost at that point. It's pretty difficult, and we don't know how much longer we've got. That's his legacy. That's the responsibility we've got. We should be zocha to be mekayim it in its entirety.